In a dramatic escalation of tensions, President Donald Trump has unleashed a scathing attack on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, accusing him of derailing delicate peace negotiations with Russia over the contentious issue of Crimea. The outburst, posted on Trump's Truth Social platform on Wednesday, April 23, 2025, comes as the United States pushes a controversial peace plan that reportedly includes recognizing Russia's 2014 annexation of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, a proposal Zelensky has firmly rejected, citing Ukraine's constitution. Trump's post dismissed Zelensky's stance as an obstacle to peace, claiming Crimea was lost years ago and is not even a point of discussion. He criticized Ukraine's military efforts, alleging they failed to defend against Russia's invasion and annexation of Crimea over a decade ago. Trump also took aim at the Obama administration, blaming it for allowing Russia to militarize the peninsula without significant resistance. Nobody is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory, Trump wrote, but he called Zelensky's remarks inflammatory statements that make settling this war nearly impossible. The dispute stems from Zelensky's press conference in Kiev on Tuesday, where he reiterated Ukraine's unwavering position. Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea, Zelensky declared. There's nothing to talk about here. This is against our constitution. His comments directly challenged the U.S. proposed peace framework, which sources say was presented to both Ukrainian and Russian officials last week. The plan reportedly offers U.S. recognition of Russia's control over Crimea and seeks to freeze territorial lines, potentially lifting sanctions on Russia in exchange for a ceasefire. Trump's frustration signals a deepening rift in U.S.-Ukrainian relations, raising questions about the future of American support for Kyiv. The president has warned that Ukraine and Russia have a narrow window to accept the U.S. brokered deal, or the United States may abandon its role as a mediator. While it remains unclear whether this would include ending military aid, Trump's actions earlier this year suggest he's willing to use leverage. In March, following a heated Oval Office meeting with Zelensky, Trump paused U.S. military assistance and intelligence sharing for nearly 2 weeks. The pause ended only after Ukraine reluctantly accepted a partial ceasefire proposal, which Russia later rejected. The origins of the Crimea dispute trace back to 2014, when Russia invaded and annexed the peninsula amid Ukraine's political upheaval. Mass protests in Kyiv had toppled a pro-Russian president, prompting Moscow to seize Crimea and fuel separatist conflicts in eastern Ukraine. The Obama administration, followed by Trump's first administration in 2018, refused to recognize Russia's annexation, with the U.S. imposing sanctions and calling for Russia to withdraw. Trump's current stance marks a sharp departure from that policy, aligning more closely with Russian President Vladimir Putin's demands. Critics argue Trump's approach favors Moscow, noting that he has refrained from pressuring Putin while increasing demands on Kyiv. Vice President J.D. Vance, speaking during a trip to India on Wednesday, echoed Trump's urgency, warning that the U.S. would walk away from peace talks if both sides don't agree to American terms. The Kremlin, meanwhile, has expressed satisfaction with the U.S. proposal, particularly its recognition of Crimea's annexation and a ban on Ukraine joining NATO, according to reports from The Independent. The collapse of high-profile peace talks in London on Wednesday further complicates the situation. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff abruptly pulled out of the meeting, dealing a blow to Kyiv's hopes for a short-term truce. Analysts, including Bence Namath from King's College London, suggest the U.S. withdrawal reflects growing impatience with multilateral negotiations. Matthew Saville of the Royal United Services Institute called Crimea a sticking point, noting that Zelensky agreeing to cede it would be political suicide. As the war in Ukraine enters its third year, Russia maintains battlefield momentum, with recent missile strikes on Ukrainian cities like Kharkiv and Kyiv underscoring the ongoing violence. Zelensky has emphasized the need for an unconditional ceasefire to protect civilians, but Putin's demands, including territorial concessions and Ukraine's neutrality, remain non-negotiable for Kyiv. Trump, however, remains optimistic, posting on Truth Social that a deal could unlock big business opportunities with the U.S. for both nations. The upcoming funeral of Pope Francis on Saturday will bring Trump and Zelensky face-to-face for the first time since their February clash. The encounter, set against the backdrop of global mourning, could either defuse tensions or deepen the divide. With the U.S. threatening to exit peace talks and Ukraine resisting territorial concessions, the path to peace remains fraught. As Trump doubles down on his deal-or-nothing approach, the world watches to see whether diplomacy can prevail, or if the war will drag on with devastating consequences.